Bad day of news for Boeing yesterday. After announcing an agreement with Southwest, American Airlines took the 737 MAX off of its schedule until April. Phil LeBeau joins us with more on all of this. And Phil, you really brought us it straight from the FAA administrator's mouth earlier this week. But we continue to hear what's going to be a timeline that operates on the FAA schedules, not Boeing's schedule.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the come-to-Jesus meeting that everybody knew was eventually going to happen. This was not going to be a case where the Boeing could continue to pressure the FAA as they were in November and early December. At some point, you knew that the FAA would say to them, we control the timeline, and that's what happened yesterday when Dennis Muilenburg met with Steve Dickson in Washington. A lot of MAX change news yesterday. First of all, the company's 2020 ramp up of production for the MAX once it is recertified. They reduced that plan. They also fell in line with the FAA timeline, which is what we talked about. Is a Q1 certification likely? Many believe it's likely, maybe late January, early February. But again, this depends on a number of hurdles being cleared. And at this point, the FAA is not saying that they expect this to happen by any certain date. Meanwhile, we did have the news late in the day yesterday that American Airlines has pulled the MAX off its schedule until April 7th. Look at that number at the bottom. Look at that. Almost 50,000 flights will have been canceled by Americans. 737 MAX flights will have been canceled through April 7th when they plan to bring it back in. Also, Southwest pilots yesterday out with a note saying, you know what, we don't think it's going to be back in service until April. Officially, Southwest has not moved it off the schedule. They still have it in early March, but don't be surprised if that gets pushed back as well. Take a look at shares of Southwest. As we reported yesterday, the company had reached a settlement with Boeing. $125 million, roughly speaking around there, will go to a special profit-sharing payment that will go out to Southwest employees. And finally, as you take a look at shares of Boeing, remember that the MAX still faces a number of hurdles, guys. So even though we have these expectations being drawn back to maybe a late January, maybe a February certification, there's no certainty there.